Boy, I don't care no more. Boy, it's gonna be your last time ever disrespecting somebody. You and your ass brother, boy. And calling me and my family out that name. Come on, man. Come on, man. Slaughter gang. I'ma fuck one of y'all. Boy, swear to God, I ain't gonna do no more talking. When I see you, it's on sight. This is my last one. Let me tell you something, little girl. Boy, I been a grown man. But I will fuck you, your brother, and your boyfriend the fuck up, man. Just give me the address, man. I swear to God, I'm gonna show y'all some. I swear to God, on that thing around God's head, boy. I'm talking about, I don't give a fuck, boy. Boy, you gonna sit there and talk to me any kind of way? Y'all pop that shit. Y'all disrespect me. Don't beg for yourself when a nigga pop up in your face, cause I have no understanding no more. Y'all took this shit to another level.
In the early afternoon of June 14, 2024, a chilling warning made on social media became all too real. A husband who had promised to kill his wife on Facebook had followed through with his deadly threat. Just hours earlier, he had posted disturbing messages threatening violence against her and her family. Despite his violent past and previous threats, no one could have predicted that just moments later, his chilling promise would turn into a nightmare. He tracked her to her apartment at the Forest at Columbia Apartments, a place she had hoped would provide safety and peace. But within seconds, her home was pierced by multiple gunshots, shattering the peace of the afternoon. When the police arrived, they discovered something even more horrifying. She wasn't the only victim in that apartment. There were others, shot multiple times in what seemed like a senseless act of violence. What led to this brutal attack, and who else was caught in his path of destruction? The answers would be even darker than anyone imagined. This is the tragic life and death of Tamika Pullins.
Amazon Prime made a bitch come faster than Amazon Prime, yeah.
Tamika Pullins, born in 1994, grew up in the quiet, community-oriented town of Stone Mountain, Georgia. From a young age, she learned the importance of family, responsibility, and resilience. As a proud graduate of Stone Mountain High School, Tamika built her life around her dedication to her family, which was her world. Sadly, it was this very love for her family that would ultimately alter the course of her life in ways she could never have imagined. She was known for her warm and approachable personality, and those who knew her would describe her as a reliable, kind-hearted person. By the age of 29, Tamika had made a name for herself as a hardworking woman with a steady job as a security guard. She eventually moved up to become a supervisor at Norrag and Associates, a job she embraced with determination.
I work for Norrag and Associates.
It wasn't just about the work for Tamika. It was her way of providing for her family. She was dedicated, frequently picking up extra shifts without hesitation to ensure that those she loved had everything they needed. She put her own needs second to provide the best life possible for her loved ones. But it wasn't just work that defined Tamika. Beyond her role as a mother, Tamika was a loving aunt to her niece, 7-year-old Dior Scott. Dior was bright and full of life, and the bond between her and Tamika was unmistakable. The two spent countless hours together, playing, laughing, and sharing their hopes and dreams. Tamika was Dior's protector, role model, and best friend. Unfortunately, they would end up losing their lives together. To her siblings, Tamika was the peacemaker, the one who could mend fences, resolve conflicts, and keep the family together. To her friends, she was fiercely loyal, the type of person who would stand by you through thick and thin. Tamika's smile was contagious, and her laughter lit up any room. Tamika's life was focused on creating a stable, loving environment for her children and helping her niece feel safe and supported. She was a woman driven by love, with the deepest desire to build a future where her family could thrive. But despite all her hard work and aspirations, her life would soon be shattered by a man who was once supposed to be her partner. The beginning of Tamika and 48-year-old William Lewis Almond's relationship seemed hopeful, filled with promise and optimism. William, several years older than Tamika, presented himself as someone who had faced life's hardships and had learned from them. He spoke of building a future with Tamika, offering the kind of companionship she had been looking for. For a time, their relationship seemed solid. They went on trips together, attended family gatherings, and posted pictures of happy moments online. William made Tamika feel loved and cared for, and she believed they were building a future together. However, as time went on, the cracks in their relationship began to show. What initially appeared to be a relationship built on trust and companionship soon became a life of control. William, while outwardly affectionate in public, began to assert control in their private life. Those close to Tamika noticed the changes in her. She began withdrawing from her usual social circles, her vibrant energy fading. The woman who had once been the life of every gathering was now subdued and emotionally distant. William's behavior was increasingly manipulative and controlling. Tamika found herself in a toxic environment, struggling to maintain the relationship while trying to keep her family intact. It became clear that what Tamika had once hoped for in their marriage was slipping further and further out of her reach. Despite these troubling signs, Tamika tried to make things work. She wanted to believe that William could change, that he could become the partner she had always hoped for. Despite this, the couple would share pictures and videos of them together.
Well, who's that? I was talking about the judge. The judge told me they just got a high price ass whooping because I whooped her with a Gucci belt. Yeah, it's real Gucci. Stamped in the back from Italy. He didn't nigga be in there and he knock out. See, you know, I got a nice taste, but I'm a broke nigga with a high price taste bud though. You feel me? Yeah, for real. I got your bitch with me, nigga. I got your bitch. I got your bitch with me, nigga. I got your bitch. And she loving this thug and shit. Hey.
In the video, William is heard joking about being a broke guy with expensive tastes. On the surface, it came across as a lighthearted comment, but to those who knew Tamika well, it struck a nerve. It seemed more than just a joke. It revealed something deeper about William's character. Despite his financial struggles, he tried to present himself as a man of success, flaunting his expensive tastes and projecting an image of control. Yet underneath the facade, the reality was far different. Tamika, however, refused to give up on their marriage. She was determined, especially when the future of her family was at stake. She clung to the hope that things would improve, that William would eventually step up and become the partner she had always hoped for. But the emotional toll was too great. The constant strain of living with someone who sought to control her every move and decision wore her down. By the beginning of 2025, Tamika reached her breaking point. Tamika made the brave decision to file for a restraining order against William. She finally recognized that she could no longer live in fear. For the first time in their relationship, Tamika took the steps necessary to protect herself and her family. She filed for a restraining order. It was a difficult decision, but it was one that many victims of domestic abuse struggle to make. For Tamika, it was the first real step toward freedom. But this decision would set in motion a chain of events no one could have predicted. William, whose ego had been bruised by Tamika's decision to separate, did not take kindly to her leaving him. Friends and family say that after Tamika filed for the restraining order, William's behavior became increasingly erratic. His threats grew more intense, and it became clear that he wasn't going to let her go quietly. William's resentment would turn into public rage. He began to post angry videos on social media, where he openly vented about Tamika's decision to leave him and spoke bitterly about her family. In these videos, William presented himself as the victim, claiming that he had been wronged by Tamika and her family. As William's anger escalated, his threats became more dangerous. He warned Tamika's family that he would come for them, even claiming he would not spare children if they were present. His words were chilling, but no one could imagine the extent to which he would follow through with his violent rhetoric.
I'm trying to get over how you just talked to me through a message, though. That's how you and your brother be doing. Now, I mean, I ain't never did nothing now on y'all. I always been there for you. You know, I ain't asked you for nothing. You know what I'm saying? None of that. You know, I just reached out to you and everything, little girl. You know what I mean? But for the most talking that crazy like your brother called me a shit. Come on, man. Y'all ain't gonna get in my face and say that shit, boy. Y'all took this shit to another level. Y'all took this shit to another level. I'm talking about, it's the same thing. I call and check on your brother. He cussed me out and accused me of some bullshit. Call and check on you. You come at me the same way. I mean, first of all, when your dad was whooping me, your mama ass, boy, it wasn't just your mama. It was me and you. Why the you think they call me Wild Bill? Boy, I'm still trying to get over. I'm still trying to figure out what the I did to you or your brother.
Tamika's family, understandably frightened, attempted to get the authorities involved, but the wheels of justice were moving too slowly. Despite their efforts to alert law enforcement and serve William with the restraining order, he continued to post threats and warnings on social media. He was no longer just threatening, he was making it clear that he would act on his words. What no one expected, however, was that the violence would happen so quickly. Tamika had made the difficult decision to leave and find safety, moving into a new apartment at the Forest at Columbia Apartments, living with her 7-year-old niece, Dior Scott. This was supposed to be a fresh start for her and her family, but tragedy struck just days after she moved in. On June 14, 2024, around 2:48 p.m., the worst of William's threats became a reality. Police responded to a 911 call reporting multiple gunshots at the Forest at Columbia Apartments. When they arrived, they discovered a horrific scene. Tamika Pullins and her 7-year-old niece, Dior Scott, lay lifeless, victims of a brutal attack that had unfolded in daylight. They had both been shot multiple times. Despite all efforts to save them, both victims were pronounced dead at the scene. The authorities quickly launched an investigation, but the true horror of the situation became apparent almost immediately. This wasn't a random act of violence. Tamika's family and friends were devastated, but they knew who was responsible for this senseless tragedy.
Back here at home, breaking now at 3:30, a massive police presence at an apartment complex in Decatur. These are live images from the First Alert chopper. Let's give you an idea of where this is. The 2500 block of Columbia Drive in DeKalb County in Decatur. This is at the Forest at Columbia Apartments, and we've noticed at least more than a dozen police officers there, K-9 unit as well, kind of surrounding and taping off one particular apartment. We could see a vehicle on the curb there, which is not where it should normally be. It should be in the parking lot there, but it's partially on the curb. So right now, officers investigating, still unclear what's happening right here. We do have our resources in the Atlanta News First newsroom working to find out what's going on. As soon as we learn more, we will bring this to you.
Witnesses reported seeing a man approach the apartment, knocking on the door, and when he was denied entry, he broke the window and began firing indiscriminately. That man was 48-year-old William Lewis Almond, Tamika's estranged husband. But just when everyone thought they had the situation figured out, a series of shocking revelations turned the case upside down. William's threats, posted publicly on social media for weeks leading up to the attack, suddenly became even more chilling in light of the murders. Tamika's family had heard the warnings, had tried to alert the authorities, but they were powerless to stop the inevitable. The devastating truth emerged. William had been making good on his promises. Within hours of the shooting, police realized the gravity of the situation. Not only had Tamika and her niece been victims of a domestic dispute turned violent, but there were also others in the apartment who had been lucky enough to escape the gunfire unscathed. In those first critical hours, police launched an intense search for William, who had fled the scene after committing the murders. He was now considered armed and extremely dangerous. A manhunt ensued across DeKalb County, and authorities warned the public to be on high alert. William had already demonstrated a pattern of erratic behavior and dangerous threats, and now he had taken the lives of 2 people in cold blood. As law enforcement canvassed the area, they began to piece together the timeline of events. But while they were making progress, the tension in the community was palpable. Everyone wanted answers, but no one knew where William might be hiding. Minutes turned to hours, and as the manhunt continued, so did the public's growing anxiety. Neighbors watched in shock, knowing that a killer was still on the loose, someone with a very real vendetta. And then, just when it seemed like William might slip away into the shadows, the police got their break. It wasn't long before the police received a tip that led them straight to William. He was located not far from the crime scene, hiding out in a nearby area. William was arrested without incident, though the emotional toll on those who had been following the case was already immense. The man who had been making threats, the man who had taken the lives of a mother and a child, was now in police custody. But despite his capture, the pain was far from over for Tamika's family. Yes, William was finally off the streets, but the questions remained. How has this been allowed to escalate so far? How had someone so deeply troubled been able to roam free, issuing one disturbing threat after another, without sufficient intervention from those who could have stopped him?
Gunfire broke out just before 3 this afternoon at an apartment complex on Columbia Drive. Fox 5's Christopher King is at the DeKalb County Police Headquarters tonight with the latest.
Police say William Ullman gunned down Tamika Pullins and Dior Scott. Dior was just 7 years old. Right now, this man, William Ullman, is behind bars. This after police say Ullman shot and killed his estranged wife and his young niece.
We believe this to be a domestic incident, not a random act.
Investigators say officers found Tamika Pullins and Dior Scott inside a unit at the Forest of Columbia Apartments on Columbia Drive. Dior was just 7 years old. Police say neither of them were breathing. Officers tried to revive them, but it was too late.
Both victims succumbed to their injuries on scene.
The gunfire broke out around 2:48 Friday afternoon. Investigators say Ullman was trying to get into the apartment. He was not allowed in. So police say Ullman broke a window and fired several rounds. The bullets hit Pullins and Dior.
This is something that is completely senseless. Not only do we have 2 lives tragically lost, but one of them a child who's just getting started.
Investigators say Ullman ran, but police caught him later on Friday. DeKalb CEO Lorraine Cochran Johnson put out a statement, quote, "As your CEO and a mother, I grieve alongside our community and extend my deepest condolences for all those affected." Ullman is being held at the DeKalb County Jail. At DeKalb County Police Headquarters, Christopher King, Fox 5 News.
Yeah, senseless, the right word for it. Christopher, thank you.
After Williams was arrested and indicted on several serious counts, including malice murder, aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, he currently remains in jail without bond. As news of Williams' capture spread, Tamika's family was torn between relief and sorrow. There was a sense of justice being served, but it felt hollow. Tamika and Dior were gone, and nothing could bring them back. It was a painful moment, one that was filled with frustration and confusion. Tamika's mother, Nikita Bruce, spoke out after the arrest. She had watched her daughter's life slip away in the most tragic of ways.
Anyone at home could imagine the family is completely distraught, still trying to process what took place earlier today. But the mother of one of the victims did want to speak with us tonight in hopes of saving others from what police are calling a case of domestic violence.
We try, because it's hard.
A mother grieves the sudden loss of two beloved souls, showing us a picture of her daughter, Tamika Pullins, who died trying to protect 7-year-old Dior Scott.
Trying to protect her from all of this. But now we see some people don't want to let go.
Police say Nikita Bruce's daughter and little Dior are victims of domestic violence. Our first alert chopper flew over the significant police response shortly after the shooting happened at this apartment complex off Columbia Drive Friday afternoon. DeKalb County Police say Pullins' estranged husband, 48-year-old William Allman, tried to enter the apartment. When he couldn't get in, police say he broke a window before shooting inside, killing both Pullins and Scott.
If you are in a domestic violence, cut ties with them, block them, everything. My daughter was reaching out for help, and I shouldn't be saying it, but the cab let her down.
Police say Allman immediately ran from the area before being caught and arrested hours later. His arrest Friday night provides the family with little comfort.
Trying to be strong for them and the grandkids.
And in a moment of great uncertainty, Bruce will always carry this memory of the two young lives cut short.
The way how they smile and always checking up on me. Don't knock on my door, but bust in my door. Hey, study, you good? You all right? I'm going to miss that. So, but they was good people.
And as the family continues to grieve tonight the loss of two beloved family members, Bruce wanted us to share this message that you should reach out to family members, law enforcement agencies, or community groups if you believe you're a victim of domestic violence. You don't have to go through it alone, as the family tonight leans on each other to get through this very difficult time.
And now, with William behind bars, she couldn't help but wonder what more could have been done to protect her daughter. Nikita explained that she and other family members had tried to intervene, had worked tirelessly to serve William with legal papers, and had been doing everything in their power to help Tamika break free from the grip of his abuse. But despite all their efforts, William's escalating violence had never been fully addressed. Nikita expressed deep anger and sorrow, and her words rang with a painful realization that no one had acted swiftly enough. She had seen the signs, and in hindsight, she couldn't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, things could have turned out differently if someone had taken the threat seriously earlier. Worst of all, the warning signs had been there. William had posted numerous threats online, making it clear that he had a violent history and a deep-seated resentment toward Tamika and her family. His social media rants, his angry outbursts, and his unhinged behavior in the days leading up to the shooting were all clear indicators that he was capable of violence. Yet, despite the warnings, he was still able to access Tamika's home and carry out his threats in a chillingly methodical manner. But even with this knowledge, law enforcement struggled to act quickly enough to stop him before it was too late. The tragic deaths of Tamika Pullins and Dior Scott were a direct result of a system that failed to respond in time to their cries for help. The lack of swift action only deepened the pain for Tamika's family and further highlighted the shortcomings of how we, as a society, address domestic violence. In the days following the arrest, the community's anger began to boil over. Tamika's family, devastated by her death, turned to the public for support, seeking justice not just for Tamika and Dior, but for all victims of domestic violence. Their frustration was palpable. Despite all the red flags, despite the clear warning signs of an impending tragedy, no one had intervened in time to save them. This public outcry was not just for Tamika, but for every other victim of domestic violence who feels trapped, alone, and unheard. Domestic violence is a cycle that is often hidden behind closed doors, and those trapped inside are left with few options. But the death of Tamika and Dior has ignited a fire within the community, urging people to speak out and demand change. The community's response to the crime was one of horror and disbelief. Many had heard the warnings, seen the posts online, and were aware of the troubling situation between Tamika and her husband. But for those living in the area, this kind of violence was still difficult to comprehend. Tamika had been a pillar of strength and kindness in the neighborhood. She had been the kind of person who always smiled, who took care of others, and who worked tirelessly to provide for her family. Her death, and the tragic loss of her young niece Dior, sent shockwaves through the community. The forest at Columbia Apartments where the shooting occurred became a place of sorrow and grief. Neighbors and loved ones gathered in the aftermath of the murders, placing flowers, candles, and handwritten notes outside the apartment complex as a tribute to Tamika and Dior. It was a somber reminder of the human cost of domestic violence, a reminder that those closest to us can be the very people who harm us. The funeral for Tamika and Dior was an emotionally charged event. While the family tried to focus on honoring the lives of two people who had been taken too soon, there was an undeniable sense of bitterness surrounding the proceedings. In the wake of this tragedy, questions about the effectiveness of the system in protecting victims of domestic violence have been raised. Why did it take so long for Tamika to get the help she needed? Why didn't authorities respond sooner to the escalating threats made by William? And most importantly, how can we, as a society, ensure that tragedies like this don't happen again? Nikita Bruce, Tamika's mother, has been vocal in calling for changes in how domestic violence cases are handled. She believes that if the system had acted more swiftly, if authorities had responded to William's threats with the seriousness they deserved, her daughter and granddaughter would still be alive today. Her pain, amplified by the loss of two of her loved ones, is compounded by the knowledge that this tragedy could have been avoided. As a community, it's time to stop ignoring the signs of domestic abuse. It's time to stop turning a blind eye when someone asks for help. Victims of abuse need to be heard, and their cries for help need to be taken seriously. We must support those who are trapped in abusive relationships, offer them a safe way out, and push for more effective legal protections. The deaths of Tamika Pullins and Dior Scott are a devastating reminder of the dangers that come with ignoring the signs of domestic violence. No one should ever have to live in fear, and no one should ever have to experience what Tamika and Dior endured. Now, as the community mourns, they also stand united in their commitment to seeking justice for Tamika and Dior. The fight for their memory will continue, and the search for answers will not stop until the truth is revealed.